Welcome back to Rides and Drives Team Radio. I'm Harvey and I'm here with Kaz, and we just finished watching the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. We watched all the press conferences after, and we're here to give you our thoughts about what we saw on this race. And Kaz, you have a pretty strong opinion about something coming out of this race.
Yeah, it wasn't the race that I was expecting. I don't think it was necessarily the race that a lot of people really wanted it to be. There was a lot of good, but ultimately what this comes down to for me, I think the good people at Firestone need to do their jobs a little worse. Those tires are just too good. The alternate tire it's it's very nice. It lasted 32 laps on the opening stint. And ultimately, when you run into a situation like that on a track like Long Beach, if you can make it a two-stopper, fantastic. Just fuel save. Don't race each other too much. It just turns into a little bit more of a, not even about pit strategy, but just about who can pull off the best pit stops, and it turns into a race that's a little bit less exciting to watch. We were hoping for a lot of different strategies, and we really only saw two. And we were hoping for a decent amount of on-track action. And while there was some, and we did see some, because everybody was in fuel saving mode, we didn't see nearly the amount we could have.
Exactly. And anytime you have a race that's a fuel save race, the passing goes down, the
Hmm.
excitement goes down. It wasn't as good a show on TV as Barber was, certainly wasn't as good a show on TV as St. Pete was. So I really think IndyCar and Firestone need to sit down and talk about these tires and the strategy. And someone asked in the press conference afterwards, "Hey, maybe if you make the race 10 laps longer, now maybe you can fuel save your way there, but maybe not."
Hmm.
So that would make it more interesting.
Yeah, and Scott Dixon's answer to that was good, and he said, "Well, yeah, 5 laps longer would have made this race a lot more interesting, but look, last year the alternates fell off so fast that 5 laps
Right.
longer wouldn't have meant anything at all. It's really difficult to tell year to year what you're going to wind up with until you get there. So, how do you know if this one needs to be 5 laps longer? This one would
No,
have
I know.
benefited from it for sure. I do think also this is a bit of a larger theme. I have noted multiple times this year that we've gone into the weekend, watched practices, watched qualifying, and been hopeful for a cliff in the alternate tire, or maybe even a really huge speed advantage from the alternate tire. We haven't really seen much difference between the primary and the alternate in a lot of races this year. We've seen drivers who prefer one to the other. Alex Palou is a great example of that today. He always prefers the primary and he drives beautifully on them. But ultimately, David Malukas was the highest position to start driver on the primary tire, and he only when they pit on lap 32, I don't know if he pit right away or if he pit on lap 32 or if he went a little bit earlier, but when they all pit, he was only 6 seconds behind the leader and only 2 seconds behind the car in front of him. So he was
Right.
able to hold on with the people driving the tire that was meant to have a huge speed advantage in exchange for an early cliff, and we didn't see any of that.
Right. And the cliff wasn't that big. The difference in speed from the start to the finish was maybe half a second a lap,
Hmm.
over 30 laps. And the difference in speed between the primary and the alternate tire for those drivers was less than that. I mean, Malukas over 30 laps was only 2 seconds behind the car in front of him, as you said. And part of that might have just been that he wanted to back off enough to get the air off his wing. So who knows if he could have run closer or not, but in those early stages, you fall into a rhythm. There's not that heavy passing, any of that going on. You're just trying to make sure you make it to the end where you can maybe put that on. So I agree with you. I want Firestone to develop a tire that gives a greater speed advantage and doesn't last as long for that alternate tire. So we can see people have to make decisions and see the racing really happen because the way it's set up today, the incentive was not to race. The
Yeah.
incentive was to fuel save, finish, and try to get an advantage in the pits or at the very end.
And when someone does take a risk on an alternate strategy, like we saw Joseph Newgarden do today, I want to see, obviously some risks are not going to pay off, but I would hope that it would be a little closer toward the end.
Right.
There's clearly no way at this particular track a driver on a three-stop strategy is going to catch up with a driver on a two-stop strategy. It's just not going to happen because it's a long pit lane and you lose too much time to that pit stop. So
Yeah. What
I,
was it like 35 seconds at pit
yeah,
stop, I
35
think?
to 40 seconds is what they were saying. So I would really, I would hope that making that alternate tire fall off faster, but also give you a better advantage would give us more opportunities to see people take more risks and eventually see one pay off because it's just frustrating to see a driver take a great risk, execute it so well, and finish exactly where he started.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Move nowhere. 14
that
to 14.
That all being said, I there was a lot about this race to love, and for me, the number one thing was Joseph Newgarden. I, as like boring, we want to say as this race was, I don't think it was boring, but
Yeah.
I would 100% watch a full race replay if it was just an onboard from his car.
Yeah.
If IndyCar wants to give that to me, please send it over. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, he was on it when he came in and, threw off the primary tires, put the alternates on, got in the clean air. Those laps were unbelievable. I mean, kissing the wall,
Mm.
I mean, he was just all the way on it and phenomenal driving. And he wasn't rewarded for it at all.
And also, when he caught up to the traffic, he did still make some really excellent
Yeah.
passes. We saw some great Joseph Newgarden moves. I saw a lot of complaining on Reddit during the race about how they weren't showing enough passes. I was like, where were you when Newgarden was moving? I saw a ton of Joseph Newgarden passes.
Yeah.
Didn't see as many others as I would like.
No, it's interesting because a lot of times in the press conference afterwards, one of the first things Dave will talk about is the number of on-track passes, and that number wasn't discussed today.
It was
So,
conspicuously absent from
yeah,
IndyCar's media materials. I haven't seen the number yet. I would bet it's lower than
then typical
50.
for sure. Yeah, we'll have to take a look at it. It's a great track. It's the cars again really delivered on their performance. But I think the fact that it was a fuel save two-stop race is what made this the least exciting race of the season so far.
Yeah.
So let's talk about who had a good day. Obviously Alex Palou, but who else?
Alex Palou, our race winner, had a wonderful day today. So did all of Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yeah.
That's not exclusive to Alex. Teammate Scott Dixon hit the podium for the first time this year. Yay, Scott Dixon. So happy to see him back where he belongs. Qualified well. And of course, as he always does, Scott Dixon is going to pick up a couple of positions after qualifying. But Kiffin Simpson also had a really nice race. Started ninth, finished 10th. That's
Yeah.
great. And his best finish of the season by far.
Yeah, he really needed that given where he has been with the team all season. So to deliver a top 10 for them, that's what they need from him on a consistent basis now is him to be fighting for that top 10 position. So I thought, yes, it was a great day for them. I really liked the pass that Alex made on Pato at the beginning to move from third to second. And it turned out to be a huge moment in the race.
Yeah,
Because if Alex had come into that last pit stop in third place,
would have looked a little bit different.
yeah, maybe he doesn't, get the pass. And and that's the other thing. This is a Ganassi team win.
Hmm.
It wasn't just an Alex win.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Alex ran away with it at the end because he was on the tire he loves and he drives with such precision. But the pit crew did a
Yeah.
phenomenal job. And the other thing that can't be overlooked is that since Alex is the champion, he gets the number one pit position, which means there's no one in front of him when he leaves his pit box. And that tripped up a lot of other people, willpower. Um, and if you can't get out cleanly, you lose time. And so that alone may have made the difference to get him the race.
Scott Dixon noted in his press conference that he also had an empty pit box in front of him just by luck and coincidence at the time when he was leaving. And both Scott and Alex credited that position to, look, our team did a great job as they always do. Can't overlook this, is what they both said. So
Yeah,
that positioning alone may have won the race for Alex and secured that podium for Scott. And that's just another example. So what this is two things for me. First of all, this is an example of why we say this every week. This is an example of why nobody can catch Alex and Chip Ganassi. It's because they do everything right. Because when the pressure is on and they need to deliver the perfect pit stop, you're not clenching and like, oh, are they gonna? No, they are gonna give
right.
you that pit stop exactly right, exactly how they need it. And then the other thing is they just have that shine, that luck.
Yeah.
Nobody can beat that luck. It's
Yeah,
really wild.
they have luck and they make their own luck. They put the
Hmm.
pressure on and the teams know they're not going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
So they have to be perfect, so maybe they push too hard. Who knows? But
Now,
we talked about that before. So,
I think this is a great way to segue into Felix Rosenquist, who I'm going to say also had a good day.
yeah.
I know he lost the win, but that was an awesome day. But I do want to just take a second before we dive into Felix's day to note they were talking on TV about how he had a bobble for a pit stop, how it was a slow stop. It really wasn't. It just
Yeah,
wasn't. It just wasn't Ganassi fast. He had a little traffic coming out and wasn't able to perfectly drop and go. You know,
right.
he didn't have a bad stop. Ganassi
No,
just
I
had
don't
a
think
better
it.
one.
Yeah, I don't think this is a situation like a Barber where, someone drops a wheel nut and
Mhm.
no, this was a clean stop, but because of a car in front of him and a car behind him, it was hard for him to get in and out.
Yeah,
And just that half a second makes all the difference in the world.
yeah.
So,
But Felix had a great day. This is his best result of the season by far. Um, and ultimately, for them at the team, Armstrong looked very solid running where he was until his tires fell off at the very end. So I guess we did find the cliff. Just
well,
to,
actually, yeah, he had a puncture or something. That's what happened. So he had to go in, change a tire. Throws him to the back of the field.
yeah,
That's too bad. But yes, he was running fairly strong at the time. I think Rosenquist, he wasn't going to be caught, right?
yeah.
If he comes out ahead of Alex, I think he wins that race. He talked about obviously Alex pulled away at the end, but even Alex said, I don't know if I was going to be able to catch him and pass him.
Yeah, Alex pulled away at the end when Alex was in his preferred tire in clean air,
Right.
everything going his way. If he's behind, making the pass is going to take some time. That's a
Right.
challenging thing to do. It's not a given just because you're faster in clean air. Who knows? Um, yeah, Felix, I do want to say once again, Felix just he seemed like he was taking everything in stride. He was obviously disappointed to lose the win, but then there was a moment where he said, right after he got passed by Alex, he realized that Scott was right in his rearview mirror. So he shifted his attention immediately because he said it can always be worse.
Yeah.
Losing position one to Alex Palou, but holding on to second is much better than fighting Scott, crashing and not finishing the race at all.
Right.
So I think ultimately he was happy to hold on to that position and really, really happy for the team. He gave a lot of credit to the team that he worked with.
Yeah, it was interesting talking about Alex and could he pass him or not? Could he have passed him or not? Well, I wrote this quote down from the press conference that Alex said, "My confidence was high, but my chances were low."
That's right. I remember that.
He said, "I don't think I'm always confident, but I don't think I
Yep.
was going to pass him." So
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. Um, Yeah, the other Alex moment of the press conference was when someone pointed out to him that he has been on the podium in 50% of the races that he's entered. And his reaction, which we're going to play now, was priceless.
I mean, it's incredible. I don't know what to say. It's yeah, this team is amazing. Like it just gives me the opportunity every single weekend to have a car that is capable of fighting for wins or for podiums or for top fives. And whenever I'm not in the zone, they kind of pull myself there with pit stop strategy or just with a car. So yeah, no comment.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, same. It's a wild thing to have accomplished. I would have to I'm no, encyclopedia of there can't be many drivers in any racing series who have ever achieved anything along those lines.
Yeah, 50% of the podiums in how many seasons he's been competing now?
It's not like he's brand new, and there are only a few data points to work with. He's
Right.
been around for quite some time.
Yeah, he's a multiple champion, right? This yeah. So anyway, that was a great moment. But so Alex had a great day, Felix had a great day. Who else had a good day in your opinion?
I am super happy with Graham Rahal and what he put together and RLL as a whole. It wasn't last race at Barber, we had a awesome day from Graham, and then we didn't really see much from the other RLL drivers. This time, however, we
Hmm.
saw Graham have a really fantastic race, moved up in positions once again, raced like the legend he is, looked really serious in everything he was doing, held off Rossi at the end very, very well. Um, Louis Foster looked awesome until, again, the tires,
Yeah.
but he was on track for a top 10 finish.
Yeah, and he and Mick finishing 16, 17, not horrible.
That's
That's
from Mick starting in 21st.
right.
I think that's awesome. I'm so happy for Mick. This is the kind of thing. This is the kind of growth that we don't expect him to be. When you're contrasting the rookies that we have, and we see Dennis Hauger, who also had a great day,
Yeah,
looking so successful right off the bat, but we can't forget that he raced a similar series on the same tracks last year. Mick didn't.
right.
We're gonna see slow growth from Mick, and a finish and an improvement like he had today is one of those little steps that if he can continue to build, this might start looking like a moment we can remember for him.
Especially considering he didn't run in practice one because of a mechanical issue, and he didn't run very much in practice two because he wrecked in the first lap.
Yeah,
So, to have made progress in this race, I think solid day for him. And then I think Penske had a good day.
I
Obviously,
think they did too.
Newgarden didn't.
Okay,
But
look, Newgarden did and didn't.
yeah,
He started the race where he finished the race, but God, races like this, moments like this are why if you say, Kaz, who's your favorite IndyCar driver? And you make me pick because I love things about each and every one of them. But if you make me pick, it's Joseph Newgarden, and it's because of stuff like this. because
Right.
when he puts on a show, it's the best show on TV. And it doesn't matter where he finishes or even where he's running. You just want to watch it.
Right. Yeah, and McLaughlin and Malukas finishing top 10, and Malukas would have finished higher, except they had an issue getting out of the pit box.
Yep.
So
It was a
again,
traffic issue. He looked
right.
really good. And actually, if traffic had been a little bit different, he may have wound up with a slight advantage being on the slightly faster tire. I don't know how much we talked at the top of the pod about how little the tires mattered. So maybe it wouldn't have, but he very well could have had a podium if it weren't for
Yeah,
the pit lane traffic. God, this caution was I was so excited when I was like, oh, it's a caution. And then I thought this should have come 5 laps earlier.
right. The fact that it happened during the pit window was kind of a
Ugh.
bummer.
Yeah, it actually made the race more boring.
Yeah. So,
Although I really did love that shot of all of the crews lined up
yeah,
waiting.
yeah.
That was a really great shot, and I wasn't as impressed with Fox's broadcast today as I wanted to be, but I'm really happy they included that. I thought that was very
The
good.
other good day today was Alexander Rossi. I think he
Yes.
had a nice move up the field. Um, I love watching him drive as well. Has um, he just has that uh I don't know what you call it, but he goes for it at the right moments. He knows how to make a pass. He's professional about what he does, and he's exciting to watch.
You know
So,
what it is? Here's the word. He drives with gravitas.
hmm,
Like his performances just when he's on, you just he's a racing driver. You believe it.
yep.
And I believed it today. It was really great to watch.
Yeah, and then Nolan Siegel,
Yeah.
finishing 12th. That's a solid day for him. He needed it because coming into this race, Tony Kanaan said you have to finish 10th in the championship or you're out.
Little fire
So
under his butt.
yeah,
And
I
hey,
mean,
maybe kid can perform with pressure. Sometimes that's what you need.
yeah. So we'll see where he goes from here on out. I don't, like you said, I don't think anybody had particularly bad days in this race. There were no wrecks. Nobody did anything really stupid.
Hmm.
Obviously, Christian Lundgaard didn't finish where we would expect him to be. I think Christian Rasmussen also probably not the best day.
You
And then
know,
there was
Christian
the
Rasmussen moved up one position and it's not his typical track type. I think he did
true.
fine.
True. And then, but then there was Pato, who yesterday seemed so excited and qualified second. And I was expecting him to be fighting you know, for first, but at least the podium
Yeah.
and fifth, a solid fifth, another
Again,
solid fifth for Pato. And we, we really want to see him fight for races,
I
wins.
don't I don't want to like clown on a guy who can finish in the top 5 every race. That's wildly impressive, but once again, and I know everybody, we've said it so many times this episode already, everybody was conserving fuel and nobody was looking to go crazy making passes, but it just really felt like the fight wasn't there.
Yeah,
And I thought after talking to him yesterday that maybe it was.
I, I saw it in him yesterday. We were both excited about it. And, it was one of the main focuses. And I think that's one of the biggest disappointments coming out of this race
Hmm.
is that after qualifying, there was potential to throw the championship race into chaos.
Yeah.
To bring more people into it, to, move things around. But, because of the way the race went, because it became a fuel save race, because Alex was pitted where he was, we're now back to where we were.
And
And
and look, it's also to an extent where we all expect to be.
right.
There's a we know and trust that Alex is going to win a buttload of races.
Well, 50% of the time he's going to be on the podium. So, and he's going to win his share of races. So that's fine. He is always going to be the one to knock off. But it looked like after qualifying yesterday that we had, I mean, you didn't have him on your podium,
No, I didn't.
right? I
I,
mean, and
I don't. I thought he very well could be, but I also thought we're seeing a lot of competitive energy from a lot of other teams, and we have for the first
yep,
four races of the season, and we still saw some competitiveness today, but I think what we saw most is that when it comes down to it, you got to do something special to beat them, and nobody brought anything special today.
right. So, um, I think that pretty much covers the race. We can
Yeah,
beat this dead horse a little harder if we want, but I'd rather not. So let's move on to our victory lane game and see where we stand after this week.
yeah. Let's talk about our predictions. As disappointing as the race was, so were my predictions.
You had
Um,
one right on the
yep,
podium.
I do, and I'm going to start with it. I did hope and predict that Scott Dixon would wind up on the podium, and I thought he might wind up in third place because he had a little ways to go coming from
Right.
sixth. And so I do get 2 points for Scott Dixon on the podium. But my second place finisher was Kyle Kirkwood, who was pushing to get on that podium by the end of the race, but wasn't quite in position for second. And I bought in fully to Pato's fire at the press conference and put him in first place, and he finished a predictable fifth. So,
Yep. Well, and I did better than you on
yeah,
the
you
podium.
did.
I got Alex and I got Rosenquist, and it looked like I was going to have maybe a chance to get all three until that pit sequence happened and Malukas got shuffled back. So,
I thought you were going to, and I was honestly really mad about it. I think it's the first time this season that I've been happy to see Malukas drop back. I like rooting for the kid, but
yep.
not today.
Not if it's going to push me in way into the lead. So,
No, not at all.
so you get 2 points, I get 4 points for our
That's
podium.
That's right. And for biggest mover, I called Alexander Rossi, who was a great choice and moved very, very well today. But I don't think any of us would have predicted Nolan Siegel would pick
Right.
up, what was it, 13
13.
positions?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Good
So
job,
good
kid.
again, good for Nolan. Good
Hmm.
race. I probably should have picked my biggest mover for my biggest bust.
Yep. You
I
picked
had
Marcus
Marcus Ericsson.
Ericsson.
I thought he was going to move up, but obviously having a hybrid problem, battery issue, had him out of the race. So he
Speaking
finished.
of bad days, Andretti didn't, I mean, a
Yeah,
lot of it was luck. That really, two hybrid issues in one weekend, and that's a spec part. That's no fault on the team.
yeah,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
call
It's
that a
not like
sloppy
someone
mistake. That was
turned a
just,
wrench wrong.
yeah.
Yeah. It, it,
It's so unusual to have even one hybrid issue, but to have two of them, same team, same week, same day, really, that's
right.
just that's just very, very frustrating. And then, while you can't entirely call it bad luck while you run over somebody's foot, it was a really hectic pit lane situation for
Yeah.
Will. So I do, not putting blame on anybody, but bad-ish day for Andretti. Certainly not what they were hoping for.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, that does make Marcus Ericsson the biggest bust of the day. You guessed Renus VK and I guessed Kiffin Simpson, and they both performed very solidly. So
Yeah. So
happy to see
neither
it.
of them. Yeah, I was happy to see Kiffin had a good day. I think that's good for them, good for Ganassi. Our plot twists.
I knew when I picked mine it wasn't going to happen, but which is why I only gambled 1 point. I said Graham Rahal would move into the top five, and he did move up positions within the top 10. So
Right.
awesome. Spirit, absolutely there, but certainly not the letter. That is minus 1 point for me, which
And
puts
I
me at
had
one on the day.
and I had all three Penske cars in the top eight, which didn't happen because Joseph couldn't move up. So I lose 2 points, which gives me 2 points for the day. And that puts me ahead by one.
Yep, you are now sitting at 10 points in the championship, and I am sitting at 9. So, nice close race for you and me. That's pretty exciting. Our championship is getting dynamic. Um,
Speaking of championships,
yeah, that's not the only championship we're tracking.
let's talk about the Rides and Drives IndyCar Team Championship. Again, to
Hmm.
remind everybody, we take the total points from each driver and divide by the number of we add them together for the team and then divide by the number of drivers on the team. So CGR has 3 drivers. You add all those points together, divide, and boom, here's where we end up. Right now, Chip Ganassi Racing has moved into first place ahead of Penske and Andretti, moving from third to first with 133.7 points for the season.
I think that's the result of Kiffin and Scott kind of getting it together a little bit, finishing a little bit more where they belong, where you can expect them to, particularly
Yep.
for Scott. Kiffin, we know, is a developmental driver, and we can expect to see him do better on some circuits than others. But yeah, undeniably, Chip Ganassi had a big old points day that's going to help their average.
Yeah, so that helped them. Penske solidifies second place with this race with 133 points. So they're only 7/10 of behind CGR. So this is a really tight race. Andretti, with their bad day, moves a little further behind in third at 127 points.
Yeah, well, 2 drivers at the very back is going to do that to you. I do want to say for Penske, this is a remarkable. What this shows to me is they're achieving some consistency that they were missing last year,
Yeah.
and this is a remarkable turnaround from where they were. A couple more race wins, and I think the drivers from Penske are going to start to look pretty shiny.
Yeah. And then we have a big drop off from Andretti to McLaren at 107 points. And again, this is average. So, it's not that they have 3 drivers and that puts them up higher than some of the other, because Meyer Shank, with only 2 drivers, has 106 points.
Hmm.
So again, um, what that says is Nolan Siegel needs to deliver more for McLaren. In it, and he did today, so that's good.
Yeah, I with McLaren, Pato's been remarkably consistent. But the other 2 drivers, well, and I guess up until today, Nolan's been consistently toward the back. Christian has been up and down and all over the place. We've talked about McLaren before and how we feel maybe they just kind of need to tighten up that ship a little bit. But also, you're right, the Nolan Siegel of it all does push them down quite a
Yeah.
bit.
And then Meyer Shank at 106, Ed Carpenter Racing at 82.
Mhm.
So solid for them. RLL moved up several positions over the last couple of weeks, and they are now at 76 points. I believe
So
that's,
happy to see RLL
yeah.
do this. We talked at the beginning of the season about them, and they made some big personnel moves. We were hoping that we would see what we're seeing now. Didn't get it
Yeah.
right away, but that's fine. Took them a few races to settle in. I want them to grow this momentum.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep that up. Then you have Dale Coyne Racing at 68, AJ Foyt Racing at 66.5 points, and bringing up the rear, Juncos Hollinger at 60.5 points. And we don't really need to say any more about that one.
Yeah, we all know what's going on JHR.
So that's where we are for the championship. All that will be online on ridesanddrives.com, so you can see some of the details. We'll have that championship up there tomorrow. And now we get to turn our attention forward to the month of May.
The most exciting time in racing, as far as I'm concerned. There is nothing better for me than green flag at the Indy 500. And we have now entered the part of the season where next up we are going to IMS. We'll start with the road course. Indy road course is May 9th. Harvey, you're going to be there.
Yes, I'll be there for all the whole road course weekend. You might be there a couple weeks before that, though, for the open practice. So we're waiting to just see if we can work our schedules out, but that would be great if you could be there, get to interview some of the drivers. And we'll be posting those online when that happens. But yeah, I'll be at Indy Road Course, and then we'll both be there for qualifying and Indy 500 weekend. So stay tuned for lots of content for us, from us for the Indy 500. And yeah, we're just looking forward to the Christmas in May.
Yeah, we'll be keep an eye on the podcast over the next couple of weeks. There's plenty to talk about with the Indy 500, with IMS. There's so much great history, so many wonderful stories, and then of course so many questions about what life is like for these guys while they're essentially living at IMS for the month, and they create this nice little drivers community. So we're really looking forward to talking to you guys about the 500 and everything associated with it. Make sure you are clicking follow on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on. Please leave us a comment, send us an email, follow us on socials. You can find Harvey at Harvey_drives, and I am Fast Car Kaz.
And we look forward to seeing you all next week when we come back with our off-week podcast on Thursday for you.
Drive safe, everybody.